So let's start off talking about self-service and why we needed self-service at Twitch. So as I said earlier, one of our team's tenets is we really want to empower decision-making at Twitch via data. Data is a very critical part of all decision-making around the company. And we wanted to empower everyone at the company to be able to make appropriate decisions backed up by data in their day-to-day. And to think about it, we can bucket employees and staff at Twitch into two personas. The data staff are folks whose day-to-day is writing SQL, using BI tools. They live and breathe the data at the company, and they know where to find the data they care about and what queries to write. Non-data staff, on the other hand, would like to use data to make their decisions, but they don't spend their day-to-day writing queries or using BI tools. But we want to empower them all. So this is what the flow looked like initially. So for non-data stuff, such as product managers or business leaders of the company, when they wanted to find what data they could use towards making a decision, they would first think about what data exactly do they need. Then they would have to place this request with someone from the data staff who would figure out where is this data, what format are they going to present it back to the requester, and then send it back. The requester would look at the results, analyze the data, and hopefully make a decision. Often at times, what would happen is when you get back the data that you've asked for, you find that you have more questions to ask. And so you repeat the cycle till you feel like you have adequate data and you can make a final decision. Now, data staff flow is a bit similar, but given their knowledge about where data lives at the company and their ability to write queries and use BI tools, they identify required data or collect the requirements from non-data staff and translate them, figure out where exactly data lives. This might be looking at the documentation or talking to other analysts at the company that own the data, and then write the appropriate queries and decide on the presentation format, whether it's tabular or it's graphical in some way. And if it's for their own needs, they would analyze the data to come to a decision, or they would give the data back to a non-data staff. An example I can think about is an analyst at the company that wants to predict site traffic and build a model to predict site traffic so that can empower the scaling up or down of infrastructure at the company. So they would identify where is the data stored about the site traffic we've had thus far, write the appropriate queries, and make this and use that to create the model they care about. So let's walk through an example of this. I'd like to introduce to you Alice and Bob. Alice is a product manager at Twitch for the subscriptions product, and Bob is a data analyst at Twitch. For those unfamiliar with subscriptions, they are one of the ways in which you as a viewer can show your support for a creator on Twitch. So for example, you could subscribe to a creator you like's channel for a certain amount on a monthly basis, and part of that would go towards supporting them financially. So in this scenario, Alice would like to really improve the subscription product at Twitch, and he's asking a couple questions to find the data. So she would start off by asking Bob. So I would like to know all the subscriptions in the US over the past year. Bob will go through the data staff flow, identify the data, figure out how to represent it, give it back to Alice. Having gotten these results, it piques Alice's curiosity. And so she has a follow-up question for Bob's, which is, what about over the past 5 years? What does this data look like? Bob goes through the same flow, gives the data back to Alice. Alice yet again has another question, and that's like, does this look any differently in some other countries? In this case, the UK, South Korea, and Brazil. Finally, getting this data back, Alice is able to analyze it and has a bright idea about how to improve the subscriptions product. Now, these flows, as you've seen, have a couple of challenges that were presented to both non-data stuff and data stuff. For non-data staff, such as Alice in this example, you can see it takes her a really long time to get to results because there's back and forth she has to go with Bob. She's highly dependent on Bob to get her the data that she needs. And depending on which analyst or data staff she uses, she might get a different view into the data. So for instance, let's say initially she got a table, and then the second time she gets a pie chart, and she would have to try and understand the differences between the data and interpret them. On the other end, data stuff such as Bob have additional work that they have to do because they're helping fulfill requests coming from non-data stuff. They need to spend quite some time figuring out where is the data, what do the columns in the data mean, whether it's looking through documentation or talking to other people. And then they also need to be very good at translating requests from non-data staff and presenting the data back in an acceptable format. And a big issue that was happening at the time is different data stuff could get different results and give inconsistent results to non-data stuff or to others at the company because of all the different tables that exist and the different interpretations folks have of the data.